Here we go. Game number 1, gonna be Empire up against Norska of Lunacy. And then the next game should be a Tomb Kings one, as long as I remember to select my faction. Got CF Bomber in chat, and right now I'm going for a sort of kite style of Empire play. Loads of Outriders, Pistoliers, and elite Knights of the Blazing Sun for cycle charging. This build works out pretty well up against Norska, just because they usually don't have that many tools to beat this many Knights of the Blazing Sun. So with Lunacy ready, let's dive into the game, and immediately, seeing a few units of Marauder Horsemen, I'll crest this hill with my Outriders and take a look at the rest of the army. What are we seeing? A ton of skirmishers. That'll make things a little bit more difficult for me. And what else? Just a bit of infantry, but nothing too crazy. So I do have a pretty nice ranged superiority here with my Outrider handguns, and the grenade launchers should do fairly well here too. But I will have to be careful that I do not get that all these Marauder Horsemen skirmishers don't cause too many problems here. I'll also really need to be I really need to worry about keeping... Oh geez, my hotkey's good. But yes, I need to make sure that France doesn't take too much damage, and I'm going to be pumping heals into these guys as they skirmish. The Pistoliers will be doing most of the screening. The Knights will be looking for infantry to charge mostly. And as for France, it looks like he's taking a bit of damage. Let's go ahead and pull him into a safer position while I start cycle charging all of this infantry. There's also a Manticore and Wolfric, but they're not especially scary here. So, yeah, as they can't really engage very hard in on this situation. Now, for these Marauders that are getting a little bit ahead of themselves, I can get some free charges on top of them. I can bring in friends too, and that should be a terror route on most of these Marauders. The Norskins can't really get a clean engage on me, as I just have a much superior cavalry force. So that's a pretty good trade so far. I'll still have to continue retreating though, as I don't want to get in a straight up fight against them just yet. And while I retreat, I have a pretty good advantage just from the Pistoliers, who do pretty well running away, as they are as they are a mobile skirmish element. Now my caster, it looks like he might get sniped out by the Manticore, but I do have Knights of the Blazing Sun at the ready, plus the support of friends. Means that he should be able to help in this situation quite a bit. His charge immediately rampages the Manticore, and I do have all of my ranged units firing away. The only big downside is that I did lose my my caster, but with the might of Franz and all of his buffs, it looks like I should be able to win this battle now. The Norskan army is actually pretty underprepared for a direct engagement, and really just showing that we're able to really win this fight here. However, Franz doesn't have any healing, so I'll have to be very careful with him, really making sure that he doesn't get himself killed, as any damage that comes in on him is gonna be permanent. So I'll be keeping him as safe as I can, and in doing so, it looks like the game should be won at this point. The Norskin main strength is down, and it's really just Wolfric left in this situation. To deal with him, I have a ton of guns at the ready. Cycle charge him with Franz, and shoot him up with my Outriders. Not to mention, I still have the very much superior cavalry force, so I think we're good to go. These Norskan Ice Wolves, though, are definitely going to be a bit of a problem, and Franz is going to have to... I'm going to use them to try and terror route them, and it looks like we do manage to get a route, and Franz also gets to disengage, which is very good. Hunter of Champions, though, would probably be the worst case scenario, since the Manticore is still in the air. So to keep Franz safe, I'm just going to pull him I'm going to pull him away from the Manticore until I actually gun it down with my Outriders. And with the Manticore down, it's just going to be a bit of infantry and just a couple single entities left. They can pretty easily get focus fired by my pistoliers and outriders. We'll be good to go. Chat, Ice Power says, greetings, Ent. Hello, Ice Power. Hope everything's going well. So far, this kite game looks like it's going pretty effectively. Yeah, Empire Kite can be really brutal, as just the Knights of the Blazing Sun are so strong, and they have a ton of different skirmishers that also do very well. Infantry is basically useless in this situation, because the grenade launchers do so much damage versus them, and it looks like that's going to be the fate of poor Lunacy here. 3 chevrons? Oh, on what? Or are you just saying 3 chevrons just cause? Isn't Boris plus Amethyst better for kiting? Probably. Although Franz is, he is really good at sniping out targets. So, I sort of like, I don't really mind either or. 3 chevrons on Blazing Suns. Are there? Oh my goodness, there is. Would you look at that? Knights of the Blazing Sun really showing their worth. But the game isn't over yet. Turns out, the Norscan wolves that are rallying are actually causing a few problems here. Now the Burning Head does drop. That's not especially scary in this situation, but a little bit of damage nonetheless. And as for ammunition, it looks like I'm still doing good on that front. The Marauder Horsemen, they should die pretty quickly to my grenade launchers, I would think. And if not, I also have Knights of the Blazing Sun that can dive in directly on top of them. And there we go, just a single volley of grenade launcher volley. Looks like he gets some routing almost immediately. Wonderful. I'll finish off the infantry, and I don't even need to dive in on Wulfric with Franz. Essentially, we have enough of a lead where it's just too risky to dive in on top of him. So instead, I'll just I'll gun him down with my outriders. That should be good. The grenade launchers, they don't really have any more targets left at this point. Some of my pistoliers are running out of ammunition too, but the normal outriders have enough ammo to really carry out the rest of the game. So absolutely no problem. Wulfric too, he is dodging a lot. But you know what, at this point I could probably get a surround on him and then just terror out him with Franz, I think. He's just at so little HP. I think this should be fine. I have enough buffs and cavalry here where even if Franz misses, the cavalry can kill him. And in this case, Franz doesn't miss. And that's gonna be it. It's just a single Fimir warrior left. And let's see. Do I even want to charge him? Yeah, I think I will. Just because he doesn't do too much damage. And then that should be it. Oh boy. There we go. Franz with the crazy charge, the terror route. And GG. Oh man, what a nice Empire build. That worked out very well. Go ahead and save. Screenshot of that. Save the replay. GG, guys. And yeah. You redeemed the rename of city to say GG. I really need to add different channel point additions, but yeah, just taking a look at Franz, he did well. My caster, of course, losing him was a terrible idea. Would have been much better if he had managed to stay alive, but what can you do other than, you know, micro? For the Knights of the Blazing Sun, they did amazingly. Look at that. 1800 damage value. I've never had cavalry do so well in my life. The outriders and pistoliers did great. Grenade launchers did great. Yeah, it's just a strong build. Even the Marauder Horsemen. It turned out that taking so many Marauder Horsemen actually was a weakness for Norska, because they couldn't actually win a fight. So when they finally did catch me, all my Knights of the Blazing Sun just hard carried. And this next game is gonna be the Tomb Kings up against the Skaven. I have brought with me a front line of infantry, a lot of chariots, some skirmishers. It's a rush build. Usually I think I might go for a more defensive style, but a rush seems like it'd be pretty fun. Now it's not a full rush. I do have a couple units of Ushabti, And I think they'll be able to do really well against this army. I'm seeing no poison wind mortars. In fact, no really scary units to speak of. So as long as my chariots don't get caught up by rat ogres, I'm feeling okay. Cetra does extremely well against ogres too. And you know what? Honestly, there's not a lot that can kill Cetra aside from the mass of the ogres, maybe the plague priest, which is the lord, which means that there's no snickage, but there are 2 assassins that I'll have to worry about. Now, assassins against Cetra can be a bit of a rough time for them, as they do actually run into issues of mass. They can get knocked down pretty often, and of course Cetra has his physical resist, which also helps out quite a bit too. As for the Skaven, I do have my my chariots moving in. They're just going to be bouncing around and hitting up as much infantry as they can. My Ushapti Greatbow supporting Cetra should make sure that this fight works out well for me. A little bit of a lag spike, but we're still able to control our troops, and right now the general idea is to keep Cetra moving as much as possible. If he gets caught up by rat ogres, that would definitely be a very bad situation. Of course, I should also be keeping all my cavalry moving as much as I can. And especially the chariots. They need to be bouncing between troops, much like Cetra in this scenario. Now, a few spells have gone down. The dreaded 13th spell has also hit up my Ushapti, so I'll have to pull them back. But right now, I am seeing a bit of an opportunity to kill off these, a few assassins. Although they are anti-hero specialists, they are actually pretty bad against Cetra. So, if I just keep cycle charging them, they should go down pretty quickly. As for my chariots, they're doing okay, slowly getting pulled down. And there are still a lot of night runners here. And the night runners are actually a bit of a problem. So, as they are much more elite than slave slingers. So, I'm going to start bringing in my cavalry to deal with them. As for the wolf rats, my Nehekar horsemen should be able to finish them off fairly quickly. And as soon as the rat ogres are down, my chariot should have free reign over this situation. The night runners won't really do too well once the front line is down. So yeah, that's going to be the plan. Just deal with the front line before really committing hard onto those runners at all. As for my Ushapti great bows, they'll just focus down this plague priest. A few assassins are diving in onto them, but once again I can bring Cetra over there and he should be able to secure that fight fairly well. The balance of power though actually looking like it's not very much in my favor. A bit strange. I'm wondering why exactly that's the case. Perhaps it could be the night runners or the summons, maybe just the triads. I'm not sure, but I should be able to remedy that situation just with my units that are much more effective in these fights. Cetra here up against the double assassin. I think he should be able to fare decently as long as I'm actually cycle charging. And right now, given that he's not, I'm actually going to pull him away now. I don't want him to get stuck too long up against assassins, as you can see he actually takes quite a bit of damage. As for the Skaven, they do actually have quite a few forces left that are coming back into the battlefield. I'll need to pull in some forces to go ahead and deal with that. My Ushapti look like they're going to be getting caught up by a lot of these Skaven infantry too. Is not great. And there are a few rat ogres, so actually quite a few things to worry about here. But I'm still fairly confident about my chances of winning here. My Ushapti Greatbow might be down, but all of the Skaven money is mostly just gonna be in their it's just gonna be in their heroes. And as long as Cetra can win that fight, then there shouldn't be too much to worry about, I don't think. So fingers crossed that all goes okay. As for my chariots, they're beginning to run out of usefulness here, as they are as most of the Skaven infantry is actually gone, and instead I need to be worrying more about the single entities. But there we go. I have routed off the rat ogres. Let's go ahead and just chase them off first of all. Finish off any spare units lying around, and then hopefully win this fight against these remaining units. There are a unit of Eshin Triads and some Clan Rat Spears too, but with the remaining chariots in the final engagement, I expect I should be able to win that fight. As for Cetra, I'm going to be using his Cursed Blades buff just for the extra 50 healing onto all of my troops, as I do still have quite a bit of extra Winds of Magic. So I might as well use it. And then soon enough, the final fight should be underway. So here we go. We got a few more wolf rats coming back actually. So I'm going to finish cleaning up the rest of these forces first. And then we can move in, and then actually finish out the game. The fact that there's a few rat ogres back too is pretty bad, but there we go. The balance of power has swung back in my favor, so I'm feeling much more confident now. All of these forces should rout pretty easily, and with all the mass, the assassins, they really shouldn't be able to catch Cetra. So with the final engagement underway, I'll be moving in with all of my forces. Cetra will be giving himself a ton of physical resist so that he doesn't die outright. Some AoEs, and then that should be the rat ogres routed off. As for the Clan Rat Spears, it looks like they'll be heading out of the battlefield soon too. And now it's just gonna be a cycle charge fest. Cetra will be taking out the Plague Priest first, as that is the main source of leadership for the Skaven. And then as soon as he's down, the assassins should rout off pretty easily. So let's see if we can do that, and then hopefully close out the game. Ooh, all right. Legion saying, what, chariots are nice when combined with sphinxes, but they don't do that hot versus storm vermin. Yeah, the storm vermin with their mass, their anti-large, are pretty scary there. And also, these assassins are going to be a bit of a problem. I'm going to try actually pulling them away from Cetra. One way you can do this is just by force moving your high mass troops, and that'll generally push them away. Like you'll see here, this assassin is being pushed very far away from Cetra, and that does help him out quite a bit. However, I still need to remember to cycle charge, as I only have so much HP on Cetra, so I have to be very careful here. But a really nice strategy to break apart blobs. Yeah, you just use your mass and you push around the Skaven forces. They are very low mass, so it's not too hard to bully these assassins out of the way, and they'll basically never actually dive in on top of Cetra. And there we go, that's gonna be game. GG, and well played. Gotta make sure you micro as efficiently as possible in the late game situations. There are a few tech strategies for Footlords. Sadly, against higher mass targets, it can be a bit harder. But in this case, it worked out fairly well. Overcast first spell gives... if you cast it on cavalry and surround the bell, it's gonna go down extremely fast. What's this? Which spell are you talking about, Legion? First Blades? I don't know what BVL stands for, but... Anyways, let's take a look at the army values. The Ushopta Greatbow died very quickly, as it was a Skaven Rush build. Had their, I think that was probably the main misplay. I should have ran away with these guys much earlier. But... you know, what can you do? Bonus versus large. Yes. Yeah, that's for the Dreaded 13th, right? Because you can summon the 2 different types of Storm Vermin. But yeah, the Ushopta Greatbows, they did die. They killed off some key targets like the Rat Ogres, but I could have kept them alive better. What did go well, though, is my mobility. For once, my cavalry and chariots survived, and of course, Cetra, an absolute beast, carried the late game. Go ahead and do it. So for the build today, I've brought a War Wagon with a Hellblaster volley gun, up against the forces of Legion. It will be gunning down any Blood Knights that we see. And it looks like there are actually a few Blood Knights, so it will actually have a few targets to hit. Anti-infantry duty is on Volkmar, and anti-single entity are these Royal Altdorf Griffites. Should be able to do fairly well, as they are anti-large specialists, very high stats, and the Jade Wizard will be supporting them too. So with the Hellblaster volley gun now firing, I'm just gonna shoot at some of these Fellbats. They do dodge, so I'll retarget onto the Skeleton Warriors, and then just start positioning so that I'm charged, I'm braced for any Blood Knight charges. Now, are there White Kings? Looks like no, and that is a very good sign for me. And this thing, it may run out of ammunition, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful about that. I won't be spamming shots off willy-nilly. As for the Dragon Lord, he does go for a Spirit Leech by the looks of it. And I'll counter that with an Earth Blood on top of these Hellblasters. Hopefully that keeps them up alive and well. And then they're just gonna start firing away at these Blood Knights, hopefully getting in a ton of damage. Another Spirit Leech comes down. I have a regrowth, so I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be just fine, actually. Volkmar, he's already clearing up some zombies. And look at that. Think things are going all right. In fact, we killed quite a few Blood Knights, surprisingly enough. Yeah, taken out a few models. They will get healed up, but that's not too bad, as we are slowly running the counts out of Winds of Magic. And the less magic they have, the better. A few zombies also move into the frontline engagement. Volkmar can pretty quickly kill them off. In fact, I think I might even use a Soulfire and Bombardment on them just to get that on cooldown. And so far, the Blood Knights are really beat up. They are, yeah, they're at extremely low HP. Another Spirit Leech comes down on the Hellblaster. I can, whoa, I can dodge with them. I can throw down a regrowth, and that'll hopefully keep them alive. Looks like the Dragon Lord might land in on top of them instead, just summoning some zombies. Oh no, Crypt Horrors, okay. We'll send in the Demogryph Knights to heal for them and try to pull them away. And hopefully I can keep those guys alive. As for Volkmar, just a few buffs should be able to help out. And I'll see if I can kill off these Karen Wraiths with the Banishment. It should be able to kill them pretty quickly. And the Hellblasters are continuing to survive. It means that Blood Knights are going to be running into some issues. So far, I think things have gone okay right now. The Blood Knights haven't really been able to get too much leverage on me. A lot of Winds of Magic have been wasted trying to kill off the Hellblasters. And you know, my front line is just continuing to hold despite the circumstances. So honestly, yeah, I couldn't imagine things going real much better than this. I'll continue firing at these Blood Knights. The Hellblaster has surely paid for itself at this point. And Volkmar on these Karen Wraiths is going to be doing a lot of damage too. So all in all, pretty good. What is bad though is that my caster, once again, getting caught out. Classic play, just getting my caster absolutely murdered. Looks like he will just barely be able to disengage. As for my war wagons, they do move out of position too. Let's go ahead and bring them back in line before I start losing too many models. And then once they're safe, they're gonna find some targets to shoot at. Maybe they'll shoot at the Dragon Lord, or you know what? Instead, I want to kill off the Blood Knights. I really want those Blood Knights taken care of. Breath attack does hit my Spearmen too. Actually gets a bit of damage in, but I have a ton of reserves, so that's not too much of a problem. And as long as my infantry keeps holding, I don't really see much of a problem in this case. In fact, even the Karen Wraiths are having a really hard time breaking through my infantry. And with another Soulfire and Bombardment nearly ready, I'm feeling like this may actually be an Empire victory, surprisingly enough. The Hellblaster volley guns have done an amazing job at killing off all these knights. And Volkmar's leadership buff is just absolutely amazing. Let's see, where do we actually want to throw down this Soulfire bombardment? I guess over here, where all these fresh skeleton warriors are. They should go down fairly quickly due to that. So we'll just push Volkmar right up into there. And then, yeah, go ahead and cast that. The Karen Wraiths just still being held up by a single unit of Halberdiers. This is actually going quite amazingly, I think. What a strange and cool build, indeed. Still, though, this Dragon Lord is going to be a bit of a task to actually pull apart. There's also this black coach, which worries me a tiny bit. But you know, yeah, we've killed off most of the black. We've killed off most of the Black Knights now. The Karen Wraiths have not really been able to get too much leverage. Volkmar is still very healthy. So yeah, there's no worry in the world. Although these war wagons are having a really hard time actually firing on the Black Knights, and potential diving on Volkmar actually could be pretty scary. I pull him away, and that should be able to keep them nice and safe. As for the Griffites, they'll I need to make sure the Griffites are very safe too. I could commit them into some infantry, but I really don't want them to die, as I need to surround that the Dragon Lord to actually win the game out. But as soon as they are safe, I need to turn them, and they're going to be firing at the Blood Knights once again. As yeah, the Blood Knights, very important target to kill. A little bit of a misplay. My Griffites do get a bit exposed, charged by the dragon. I lose a few models, but honestly, not too bad. Basically, all the Blood Knights are dead at this point. I still have just an insane amount of infantry. And yeah, even the Black Coach is almost gone. This is good, guys. Let's go ahead and turn on chat, because things are slowing down just a tiny bit. See, yeah, what your thoughts are. You wish Soulfire did friendly fire, so that people couldn't just click it anytime and do crazy damage. Yeah, that is true. Soulfire is pretty strong, but I don't think Empire are in that strong of a position right now in the current meta. So it's fine that they have a few strong abilities. Another Soulfire just to kill off these Karen Wraiths. As there's not too much really left that I need to worry about at this point. What, just a Dragon Lord and some skeletons? No problem. The humble spearman backline of the Empire, indeed. And man, oh man, did they hold really well here. They were basically unkillable for the whole game. And that's it. Legion calls GG. It's gonna be a victory, guys. Wow. That was disgusting. Oh my gosh, look at that. He used like a breath attack and 3 spirit leeches, and none of my war wagons died. 2,300 damage value. Basically untouched for the entire game. If you look at the Blood Knights, absolutely demolished. Geez, they killed basically both units of Blood Knights. And then my infantry never routed. Even the spearmen paid for themselves. At least a couple of them. Actually, yeah, 3 out of 5 spearmen paid for themselves. And 3 out of 5 halberdiers paid for themselves. That is amazing. Not to mention Volkmar, very good too. And I think, yeah, in the end, his build just didn't really have much to deal with this. So GG. So next game, Tomb Kings versus Norskins. Ice Power going for, let's see, some Manticores, Throg, some Skinwolves, and a unit of Chariots. Up against my massed range build with a little bit of single entity support. So he actually has no skirmishers, which means that these skeleton horse archers have basically free reign over all of this over here. So I know Ice Power can dodge. He is a proficient Total War Warhammer player. So no need to waste ammunition until I get much closer, and it becomes a lot harder for him to dodge. So let's see, it looks like he predicted me to turn on fire at will, but I actually misclicked and didn't turn it on. So he wasn't able to dodge. And there we go, the first volley. Picking out a Skinwolf model, that's not bad. Now, as for this chariot, I have my War Sphinx at the ready. It shouldn't be able to get too close there. And as long as I use my Skeleton Horse Archers to fire in at close targets, they should be able to take them out pretty quickly. Let's see, there is a unit of the Miststalkers though that we'll have to be wary of. And the chariots are diving in. But, like I said, I have a Lich Priest of Light. And with a net, that pretty easily takes care of the chariot. I can focus fire it down. And with the War Sphinx, it should be dying pretty quickly. As for the double Manticore, a little bit of a more difficult issue to tackle. But nothing a little bit of focus fire can't deal with for sure. Throg isn't too scary versus Cetra, as long as he has his buffs up. And I will be throwing them down. He has fire damage, so he's actually pretty proficient up against Throg. The Manticores too look like they are falling very quickly with the combined focus fire. And with the Sphinx, I think I should be able to clear out this infantry no problem. So all in all, things are looking okay. The Miststalkers have done a bit of damage. And some Skin Wolves are going to be diving into the back line in just a second. As I learned from chat a second ago, Overcast on this ability allows Cetra to get bonus versus large. And that should massacre Throg extremely quickly. The Skin Wolves in the back won't do well against this many archers plus the Terror. So I think that should go very well for me. And you know what? I think this should be a pretty clean victory by the looks of it. Throg is off the battlefield. He won't be coming back as he's just going to be chased down by Cetra. And let's see, what are these Skin Wolves doing? Looks like they're trying to maneuver to hit my skeletons over here. So a net on top of them should be able to finish them off pretty quickly. And as for these routing forces, I need to really focus on actually chasing them down with my Skeleton Horse Archers. The loss of Throg should be a fairly large hit up against the Norskins. It's going to take a while though. Cetra's going to be escorting him off the map for quite some time. But as soon as he's gone, the leadership debuff is going to be really rough up against all of these single entities for sure. So no problem at all. We routed off another unit of Skin Wolves. These guys are on the run now. And the Marauder Berserker should be having a pretty rough time too. Now as for Cetra, he does get surrounded by Skin Wolves. Of course, he does have many abilities to buff him up. So I'm not too worried about that fight actually. And with his extra damage against large, I think he should win this fight, I think. No guarantee though, there is a Manticore coming in too. So who knows, maybe Cetra will die there. I'll keep a close eye on him just in case he gets absolutely murdered. But there we go, the Skin Wolves are routing. The Manticore should rout in a second too. And I think my mass ranged build is going to be paying off here very well. Look at that. The Skin Wolves are now routing. I still have a Sphinx, and what's this? It's just the Miststalkers left for the Norskins. Not to mention, of course, I still have my caster. So there is absolutely no worry at all. Cetra, absolute beast, killed off Throg like no one's business. On his glorious chariot too, no less. Just a wonderful dandy old time. Now for these Skeleton Horse Archers, I do have to be a bit careful with them, but they work really well as cycle chargers versus infantry. And they should be able to rout off these Norskins very quickly. As for Cetra, he'll be finishing off the few Skin Wolves. And yeah, nice. How do you guys feel about the build? Probably better to make your own builds once you're under... Oh, you guys are talking amongst yourselves, no problem. Let's see, I'm gonna micro Cetra from all the way away from this distance, and it looks like indeed he kills off the Skin Wolves. Just basically I brought a fire-based build against the Norskins, and with all their regeneration, it was a pretty clean win. Nice. I think taking out the chariots early helped out a lot too. Look at that 0 damage value. That helped, especially for keeping my frontline alive. And then the dive in with the Manticores was a little bit overkill. They got shot by the archers way too early. Had Ice Power kept them in reserve, I think he might have had a better chance there. Not to mention Throg, really just losing entirely to Cetra was bad. So I think I think his build wasn't too bad. Maybe just a couple misplays. Sure. And we'll just quickly look over some values. Nice. GG. The Doctor has given the ready, good luck, have fun. We're gonna bring him a pretty brutal kite build. And for his army, it's looking nothing too overwhelming. There is a hell cannon to contend with though, so time is of the essence. My Bright Wizard needs to start spamming fireballs on that as soon as possible. And I need to get my skirmishers moving up before they take any hits. A pretty nice dodge there against the hell cannon. Help out quite a bit. And the thing about fireballs is that you can't really dodge them by dismounting your artillery. Fireballs will actually still continue to trace towards their target, despite a dismount. And with another shot, the hell cannon should be going down pretty quickly. Now the grenade launchers can shoo away these Marauder horsemen. Oh jeez, and a single volley just absolutely murders half of these horsemen right off the bat. That is definitely very brutal. A Spirit Leech comes down on my Knights of the Blazing Sun. But the Knights of the Blazing Sun, they are actually pretty effective against magic damage. And there we go, Hell Cannon. Oh, not dead yet, but nearly dead. Yeah, the Knights of the Blazing Sun, they have magic resist, so they're actually not too worried about they are not worried at all about Spirit Leeches. They will very effectively tank that damage for sure. Now my skirmishers are winning the flank very, very quickly. The hell cannon desperately trying to hide behind a hill, it appears. I'll throw down another fireball towards it. But it looks like I need to get to the high ground to actually find a good position to shut that down. As for the infantry, we will be we're going to be hitting them up with the grenade launchers. And then as soon as I can fireball the hell cannon, I'll be good to go. But the terrain is actually good use of terrain from Dactor. Does keep the hell cannon, does keep it alive for a bit longer than I would have hoped. Let's see here. I need to really reposition with this guy if I want to push back this hell cannon. The Marauder horsemen too, actually. They dive in onto my outriders, and that's a pretty good play coming on in from Dactor, as I don't have any cavalry here, and he's actually going to kill off a few of my skirmishers. Definitely very unfortunate, and a nice pick from him. As for me, I really need to get another hit on this hell cannon. Let's see here, how can we do that? I'm not entirely sure. It is in a pretty nice nook. I'll see if this cast manages to knock it out. And then we'll continue the goal of hitting up all this infantry. But it looks like I'm mismanaging this build a tiny bit worse than before. And yeah, with the hell cannon, it's just getting pretty rough. However, it should go down soon enough. It only lasts so long to the might of endless fireballs. And with a bit more pivoting, I think I should be able to get it to actually route off properly. As for Sigvald, he will eventually die to the likes of Boris, just via cycle charging. I'm not especially worried on that front, and I even have some cavalry now moving in. They should be able to win this situation fairly well. In fact, I think my cavalry might even be able to take out the hell cannon. Let's go ahead and send a few of those guys in, and then use the rest of the cavalry to catch up these manticores. That is a high priority target, as the manticores, oh geez, I can't think. Yeah, it's a high priority target because the manticores are one of the main mobile elements for the Chaos Army, and if I can actually kill them off, then that would be very good. But the hell cannon, it does dismount. Nice play from Dactor. I have lost a lot of my skirmishers due to bad engagements onto the infantry, and just really trying to catch this hell cannon has given me a lot of issues. My knights have taken a rather large beating, but in the end, as long as I can actually win out against all of the all of this infantry here and the Marauder Horsemen, I think I should still be okay. Boris should be able to play a rather large part in this. So we'll see how that goes. He does pretty good at chewing away the first Manticore. There are still just a ton of Marauder Horsemen though, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. I will be able to kill off the Manticore. That's very good. I'll even send a fireball onto the other one to try and take that out. Because in the late game, with this much cavalry plus Boris, it doesn't matter how much infantry there is. So the balance of power can be a bit deceptive on that front. I just need to actually take out the horsemen, and that's going to be a bit of a task. So now that we finally stabilized and the Hell Cannon is no longer shooting, I can regain and pick up the task of killing off these horsemen again as quickly as I can. I'll use my knights to shoo them away, plus Boris, fireballs, and with the combination of that, should be able to rout them off fairly quickly. Of course, I still have a bunch of grenade launchers to focus fire down infantry. So I think I'll be alright. The infantry does slowly get taken down. Boris is actually getting pretty low though. So we'll see how that plays out. And man, he went really hard on the horse masters. And that's gonna be pretty bad. I think I really overcommitted trying to take out the Hell Cannon. I could have sat back and just let it burn out its ammunition. But still, I don't think the game is over yet. We're gonna keep sending in some fireballs at these horsemen. And then the grenade launchers should be able to carry out the rest of the day. And Boris, he's going to be dodging as much as he can versus these horsemen, as they do cause a few issues. The horsemen, they're the main threat against most of my mobility here. So if I can just get them killed, that'll be good. The Manticores too. It looks like this one's about to go down, but not before it hits Boris for quite a bit of damage. And we're gonna have to pull away too, to try and evacuate against all of this infantry. The horsemen too actually do charge in towards my forces, but with the Knights of the Blazing Sun coming in, I should be able to pretty safely disengage from that situation. Still though, it's pretty dicey. Boris too, he's gonna land in onto this infantry. He's not particularly afraid of a fight here, as I do have my cavalry to support, and some big charges on the infantry should get them routed pretty quickly. The horsemen are running out of ammunition, and that's going to be my saving grace. Now that they've finally run out of ammo, I can just use my my grenade launchers freely against all of the infantry now, no problem. The Knights of the Blazing Sun with their cycle charging will be very effective too. We'll turn off fire at will to conserve ammo, since there is still quite a bit of chaos left. And then see if we can take out these horsemen before they kill off all of my skirmishers. Sigvald too is at fairly high HP, but that's not really too much of a problem. Also, the Hell Cannon is dead, thankfully enough. My Outriders, I only have one of them left. So we'll really have to conserve ammo on him. And then we'll see if my cavalry here is enough to deal with this. Not to mention Boris with cycle charging can only do so well against Sigvald. And that's probably the scariest point actually. Sigvald might be able to win out the day in a late game situation here. He is Sigvald, even with cycle charging, with the new changes that they added, he can actually stand a charge from Boris pretty well, and even a few hits on Boris could end the game outright. So got to be very careful here. I'll spam some fireballs into him just to get him killed off a little bit faster, and given that he's a foot lord, he shouldn't be able to dodge that too effectively. Not to mention some cycle charges from Boris, plus the assistance of my Knights of the Blazing Sun will make it easier for me to actually land hits without worrying too much. Boris, though, he's going to have to disengage as much as he can to stay safe. And now I'm really wishing that I did have a life caster to heal up my knights, But the fireball caster should do pretty well too, especially against someone like Sigvald. Should slowly be able to take him out. As for all this grouped up infantry, this is a perfect time to throw in a volley of grenade launcher ammunition. That should get them off the battlefield pretty quickly. And I still have a unit of cavalry, which means that with continuous cycle charges, there is still a chance. The question is, though, whether or not I can actually kill off Sigvald, and whether or not I actually have enough Knights of the Blazing Sun to pull out a victory here. I do still have 4 fireballs in the pocket. Sigvald is no joke when it comes to he's no joke when it comes to hardiness. In fact, he even dodges using the hill. Hills are very good at stopping fireballs, as it does change the actual trajectory quite a bit. It can make it pretty awkward for you to actually land your hits there. But he is slowly but surely dying. Not to mention these Chaos Warriors too are slowly getting picked apart by cycle charges. So it's not over yet. Sigvald, it looks like he is gonna get a hit on my knights though, which sort of sucks. But the fireball comes in. He dodges, it hits, not too much damage though. Ooh, alright, this is gonna be really scary. Sigvald is probably the biggest issue here. He will be trying to land a few hits on my cavalry, which does allow me to cycle charge with Boris. But it really depends on how well Boris actually does here in a direct fight against him. Not to mention there's still a bunch of cavalry left here. Oh boys, it's gonna be a close one. We may get a mass rout on the Chaos Forces, and I'm actually going to send in an overcast fireball through the infantry just to try to get them to rout, but it looks like Dactor may have pulled it off this time around. Coming on in with the kite build, or the anti-kite build. Loads of skirmishers, the hell cannon too, and it's gonna be a rough time. However, if we kill Sigvald before we hit army losses, that is still an avenue for victory. I still have a few outriders left. Let's see, with a couple shots, that will be reducing the leadership of these forces by a tiny bit. And landing Boris in, we should be able to get a terror out. So it looks like that's fairly effective, but man, Boris has just taken such a beating throughout the course of the game. Guess that's gonna be it. GG. Oh my goodness. A long game. It actually got pretty close there towards the end, but at this point it looks like it's gonna be army losses. Sigvald pulls out the victory, and the terrain keeping that hell cannon alive, plus of course a couple misplays on my part, gonna be deciding the game there. GG, and well played. The hell cannon, although it didn't get too much value, what it did do was it forced my army to move forwards, and it also caused me to make a few misplays for sure. The manticores really weren't too much of a problem for Boris, and you know what, in the future I might even just go for the Jade Wizard. But then again, the fireballs were really good for taking out the hell cannon, so I think it wasn't a bad idea to take a bright wizard here. As for the Knights of the Blazing Sun, they definitely did want healing. So in the future, I'd probably cut one of these outriders and take a life wizard instead. That would keep the knights alive much longer into the late game, and then they'd be able to clean up this infantry absolutely no problem. But anyways, here we go. Enough talk with Twitch chat. We have a Tomb King's Rush build up against the Empire. Gonna be moving in as quickly as possible. Some outriders with grenade launchers. We'll see if they get baited by my Lich Priest of Light. Cannon shots ringing through into Cetra, putting in quite a bit of damage right off the get-go. And here we go. I'm gonna net down these outriders. Move in with my forces, but not before they absolutely annihilate my skirmishers like no one's business. A net comes down on Cetra though. He will be getting holed up, but aha, just barely not fast enough. We immediately kill off a unit of outriders. That's actually fairly good for me. But Cetra now, he's going to be getting focus fired by artillery. Looks like I will be able to avoid most of the damage though. And instead, the main problem is that my chariots are taking rather large hits. So that's definitely pretty bad, but with my front line now getting in on the fight, I think we should be okay. let's see, the Lord, going to be Volkmar the Grim, and the goals are shutting down the cavalry and these outriders. And these silver bullets too, which are about to hit Cetra, but a little bit of dodging goes a long way. It looks like he does manage to stay alive. So all in all, things are going decently. I can now begin moving forwards with the main engagement. There are basically no threats to my Necropolis Knights, and then my skeletons can just force path through, yeah, they can force path into the back line of the Empire. Now, there are a few halberdiers here. I'll need to be very careful that I don't get caught by them. And keeping these chariots alive is going to be of the utmost importance. But if I could suicide them to kill the range units, I think that would be just as useful. So we're going to send them in. Hopefully they survive and buy enough time for Cetra to also dive in onto all of these ranged guys. The Necropolis Knights will be a pretty big threat in this situation. And then even my skeleton horse archers should be able to get in a pretty good amount of work. Let's go ahead and throw in a buff on those chariots too. They will still be able to do a lot versus the infantry here. And as for my Necropolis Knights, I do have to make sure that they stay relatively safe. They don't want to be caught stuck fighting spears for too long. And they have the mass and mobility to sort of avoid that situation. So I should be using that as much as possible. Especially while using my chariots to do well, or no, not my chariots, my skirmishers to loop around the back too. The mobility, they really need to be shutting down these Empire forces. It looks like with the long flank, that will become a reality. And then I can start chasing off some of these troops. The Necropolis Knights are going to need to sneak in though, if they want to catch any of these forces. And as for my chariots, they're all dead. How unfortunate, but they served well. The chariots, they did well. And yeah, as long as let's see, as long as Cetra doesn't die to this darn hammer of the witches, then we should be good to go. He has taken a lot of damage though. A few of the guns are back online and operational, but at this point, taking stock of the situation, Volkmar is getting pinned down by Cetra. He's gonna get netted. And then an overcast, giving him anti-large. That should actually put Cetra in a pretty bad position. I have a ton of Necropolis Knights here too. But, oh dear, what's this? The Sterling's Revenge are actually getting in quite a bit of damage. And I'll need to find a way of actually dealing with them. But so far, we're seeing mass routes on the Empire forces, and I think with Cetra, I should actually be able to win this one. I have a ton of Necropolis Knights. Have my Lich Priest. He can chase off a few troops, charge them in the back, and as long as the Empire don't have any ranged firepower here, then yeah, we'll be good to go. Look at that, Cetra just hard carrying in this fight over here. It does look like the Light Wizard does come on in and charge Cetra in the back, but he's not especially scary just because of Cetra's insane armor values. And there we go, all the ranged troops are gone. Even the Empire cavalry is gone. And I'm just going to throw down another melee attack buff on Cetra, just to give him that extra 50 healing. We definitely don't want him to be dying prematurely. And there we go, it looks like that's going to be it. Army losses for the Empire, and a pretty successful rush. Ooh yeah, look at that. And now I can switch up the stream to a Lizardman stream, since Sotek, he's in chat. He's been chilling for a while, so I feel like we might as well honor a few of the memes that have been requested over the weeks. Let's see, we could even go for some greenskin memes. I think people wanted rogue idols a while ago, so it should be pretty fun. Now the build, it was just shutting down these two range units. It almost went really badly. If Cetra had died, that would be terrible. But with the nets, I could pretty easily catch out these grenade launchers. And then after that, cleaning up the infantry was no problem at all. The Necropolis Knights are actually really proficient in fights. They are just amazing, monstrous troops. And if they can find proper fights, they're just wonderful.